Okay, we're going to talk about the real issue that I see facing a lot of us today. Every company in here, regardless of your size, has a sales program. You can be a one-man or one-woman band, but you have a program. Or you could be 10 or 15 salespeople, and you have a program. What I want to ask you is, are you running the program, or is the program running you? Some symptoms that we're going to help you walk through is how to analyze your current program against best practices. If the program's running you, the symptoms are frustration, the symptoms are the squirrel cage phenomenon, the symptoms are the MSP that started the business 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago is still doing what he or she was doing 10 years ago. Does that sound familiar? That's the man or woman who's starting to get a little frustrated. That's the man or woman who isn't building a business. Let me start by defining a business from my point of view. A business is an entity that will produce wealth for the owners of that business, whether they're working or not. If you can't take a 6-month trip to Fiji and come back with more wealth than you had when you left, assuming you're not gambling while you're down there and win, then you don't have a business, you have a J-O-B. And I think J-O-B should become an acronym in our sea of alphabets, as Randy just said, and it should stand for just over broke. So, we want you to get out of the cycle, and the only way out is to focus on the program that allows you to find, acquire, and retain customers. So we're going to take a look at how the program really should work. And this is a dove. This is a forehead flattening concept, but you have to compete more to win more. So I don't want anyone to shout this out, but how many first meetings are in your calendars today to meet with new prospects with the view of selling them something in the next 30 days? How many first meetings have you had in the last 30 days? And as I said this morning, if there are no first meetings, there'll be no first orders. That's just math. And too many of us have a sales program based on hope. I hope someone calls me today. I hope someone I know will introduce me to someone they know who needs some technology. And hope is not a very viable strategy, although it seems to be very plentiful. Now, one of the things I advocate, and I've shared this with many of the people that I've coached, I won't take a coaching client. I won't take your money. I won't take an engagement unless you have a strategic plan. Because I can't help you get to where you want to go unless you can put in writing the destination. And too many of us don't have that destination in mind, and consequently we can't build a plan. There's a website that I refer my clients to. It's called 60MSP. It doesn't stand for Managed Service Provider, but it stands for 60-Minute Strategic Plan. That website will provide you with a template, and you'll invest an hour of your life. I guarantee you that you'll see things within your business, within your program, that are missing that will help you achieve your goals. So 60msp.com is someplace I encourage you to go to. Cargill's Law, action drives results, everything else is just a talking point. We can't spend our lives, our careers, getting ready to get ready. We can't spend our lives waiting for the next hot product to come down, hoping someone will call, because I'm going to talk to you like a civilian for a minute or two. I'm not a technology guy. I know it doesn't show. Yeah, COBOL was a good language. But the civilians out there don't understand the new technology. So they're already confused. Something newer comes out, they're still confused. And if you're confused, you'll always buy the lowest price spread. Okay? One of the things that I want us to start talking about, and I love Randy's presentation, because price doesn't matter. And let me prove this to you all right now. I know this is counterintuitive. First of all, I learned to sell at IBM back in 1970, in the days when computers were heavy. And our motto was, you can always buy better, but you can't pay more. And we were very proficient at selling the most expensive, least productive equipment on the planet. Okay, very proficient at doing that. My hobby, my passion is flying airplanes. And when I fly aerobatics, I wear a parachute. How many of you want to take a stab as to which end of the pricing spectrum I shopped when I bought my parachute? Only gotta use it once, right, okay? Or like a friend of mine has embroidered on the back of his parachute pack, in case of failure, return for full refund. Okay. So I will make a parallel, an analogy between a parachute and a server. Because if a company's data goes kaput, what happens to that company in 6 months or less? Kaput. It's gone. So your services could be analogous to a parachute. So how much is it worth to have your services? If the risk is the business could go out of business without you. And that's essentially Randy's approach. Don't talk about your price. Talk about the cost of not having a relationship with you. What does it cost a company in terms of stress, in terms of production, in terms of errors, to not have a relationship with you? There's some more questions that I'd like you to answer. If you don't change your activity from a quantitative and a qualitative point of view, where will you be a year from now? Basically where you were 10 years from now if you haven't changed. Where will you be at the end of this quarter? Where will you be at the end of this year? Is it good enough? What needs to change to make this year your best year ever? These are issues that MSP, the 60 MSP website is going to make you ask questions to. And do this by yourself. You don't need to share it with anybody. But if you don't know where you're going, no co-pilot can help you get there. You are pilots in command of your respective airplanes. How much needs to be changed? Critical activities. If you're really going to drive your business, and you've seen funnels, you've seen pipelines, and all of the speakers in the world have slightly different variations on this, but at the end of the day, you have to have a whole lot at the top to get a little at the bottom. Is that correct? How much do you need at the top to meet your goal for MRR this year, or for new accounts this year, or for new projects this year? We don't know how much is needed up here. We can only hope to get to the bottom. You see, the only aspect of this funnel that I can control as a sales professional is the top. Because stuff happens, doesn't it? And it's happening faster today than ever before. Back in my IBM days, if I met a prospect and they said, come back in September, I went back in September, they're still there. In today's world, September could be 2 weeks away. You go back in 2 weeks, and they've been merged, purged, deduped, or out of the job. In my day, you could shake hands and have a deal. Today, the contract is the beginning of the lawsuit, isn't it? Okay. It's just a matter of when that will occur. So I can control, because of work, the top of the funnel. Your sales program must count, measure, and hold accountable the number of first meetings in your calendar. I was talking to somebody at the pavilion earlier, and they said, well, is that more work? Is that adding work to it? Yeah, maybe if you want to look at it that way, but by measuring yourself against some metrics, and these are the critical activities, what you're really doing is increasing your chance of hitting your goal. What you're really doing is reducing your stress, because without this, what we tend to do is we start working harder and harder and harder, and pretty soon we're at maximum RPM, Mr. or Ms. Sole Practitioner, the seller doer. You can't work more than 24 hours a day. I know many of us try to, but at the end of the day, you hit that ball, don't you? And then you start saying things that you regret. Okay. One of the things that a good program will allow you to do is predict the future. This man is reading his future because he's an MSP that understands the correlation between today's activities and tomorrow's results. Now, any spreadsheet will help you track this. ConnectWise will help you track this. Autotask will help you track this. TigerCall will help you track this. But how many first meetings do I need to get a new account? Has to be an answer that you all have. Otherwise, you have a job. And you're just working harder and harder and harder. We can control first meetings. Everything else is subject to some of the winds of change. I have to be able to correlate activities to the future. Here's why. Today's activities are tomorrow's bank account balances. And I know that if I do the right quantity and quality of activities this week, 93 days from now, that's our average sales cycle, I'll know how many first orders I'll have from new accounts. So my life is less stressful than the sales professional who says, I gotta work harder, gotta work harder, gotta work harder. Because you run out of bandwidth sooner or later. So based on the companies that are here, and I live here in California, so I understand the state's economy and the potential here, I think the potential for SMB-focused MSPs or VARs or affiliates or whatever you refer to yourself as is huge, just huge. And most of us are barely scratching the surface. The last time I checked, in the United States, there were 6.2 million small to medium businesses. In Los Angeles County, I think I saw a number of something like 58,000 that employed enough people to have 5 or more PCs. And to some degree, isn't that the sweet spot we all want to look at? So how many are in your databases? Benchmark yourself. Start measuring the activity metrics that produce the revenue. Define your shortfall. If you don't change anything, how much new revenue will you produce by the end of the year? If you don't have that in hand, then you will find yourself at the end of the year hoping to hit your numbers. And those numbers are difficult to hit that late in the year. I like to measure KPIs, key performance indicators. A key performance indicator is how many first meetings did I have last week? How many quotes did I publish last week? How many dollars do those quotes represent? Or if you don't do quotes, how many proposals and how many dollars? If you give demonstrations, how many demonstrations do you have to give to get a new account? You see, we can go through the motions of selling and produce nothing and become very frustrated, or we can become a little more precise and have a very predictable income flow. Now, one thing I'd like to talk about that I did not talk about this morning is a concept called closed-loop marketing. Every one of the CRM systems sold in this space has the ability to run closed-loop marketing. I'm going to share a true story with you that I hope will motivate you to turn on that capability in the software that you own. In 1970, I was a rookie sales rep with IBM. As all rookies, I was floundering a little bit. I had a lot of people say, no, get out of here. Heck no. Back in those days, we canvassed office buildings, and guards would chase me out of the building. And I realized that if I canvassed every alternate floor going up and down the building, the guard was always on the wrong floor. That was selling back in the day. But I was frustrated with this. I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And one day I saw a book whose title was How to Sell Anything to Anybody. And I bought the book because I needed to sell something to somebody. Okay. And I read the book. It was written by a gentleman named Joe Girard. Some of you may have heard of him. He holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the number of new cars sold in 1 year from a retail dealership. In 1965, Joe Girard sold enough Chevrolets from a Chevy dealer in Detroit to earn $400,000 commission as a commission-only Chevrolet salesman. The top-of-the-line Corvette, the most expensive car they sold that year, sold for $4,800 with an 8-track. If you don't know what an 8-track is, your age is shown. My wife and I just had a great conversation with our granddaughter because my family is very musical. My grandmother was a musician, my mother was a musician, my grandmother's brother played with Count Basie and wrote music for Count Basie. So our granddaughter said, and my wife is a retired music teacher and a professional musician, so our granddaughter said, "Granddad, are you musical?" And I said, "Yeah, I used to play the 8-track. And she went, "Huh?" I tried to explain that at one point in time we had these boxes with a tape inside. And you know, if you had a good one, you could get 3 or 4 songs on it. And she pulled out her little 1-inch square iPod. "Granddad, I have 38,000 songs right here." So just to change the world. But anyhow, Joe Girard's secret, and I was frustrated. I wanted to know what his secret was, so I read his book. Everybody that said, "Not now, no need, no budget, just wanted to shop, wanted to come in and look at the new cars," everybody that didn't buy went into a process. He had a program, and every month, every one of those people got a postcard from Joe Girard. Postcards, I thought, had magic words on them. So I was looking through the book, speed reading, to find the content of those postcards. Because he averaged, and write this down, he closed 8 cars per day for 365 days. Back to back, nonstop. His W-2 was $400,000, the number 2 salesman in the same business, in the same dealership, getting the same leads from the same marketplace with the same demographics. had a W-2 of $14,000. And the rest of the guys called Joe lucky. His secret sauce was these postcards went out every month to everybody. And they were beyond hokey. Happy New Year, if you're going to buy a new car this year, come see Joe. Happy Valentine's Day, if you're going to get a new car for your honey, come see Joe. Go forth with the luck of the Irish in a brand new green Chevrolet, come see Joe. Not very good marketing copy at all. But what he prevented was he prevented the prospects from forgetting about him. How many people did you talk to last year that said, not now, no need, no budget, good idea, but I have to wait? That this year are buying from your competitor because we didn't stay in touch. And too many of us don't use the power of closed-loop marketing. You've got it in the technology you're already paying for. Turn it on, send them anything every month. A newsletter, a postcard, hey, how you doing? We're going to have a meeting, come on by, let me come by. What did you think of the Cleveland Browns game? I don't care. Literally, Harvard did a study and they found that as long as the reader sees your logo, you maintain top-of-mind awareness. So for those of you that are killing yourselves trying to write expert marketing copy, just send them your logo. I'm still here. Make some sense? Because we humans forget information that we don't use with a half-life of 30 days. Read Joe Girard's book. If you aren't optimizing your website, shame on you. We're in the industry. 84% of new purchases last year, according to the Sales Lead Management Association, were initiated from a web search. So they're looking for you. If you don't have any of the devices on your websites that identify visitors, like VisiStat, Visitor Leads, Act-On, have you heard those names? Are you using any of those? Any? Some, yes, maybe no? Okay. Very inexpensive, but what it will do is tell you who's visiting your website. Wouldn't you like to know who was there today? Google Analytics will tell you how many people were there, but I can't do anything with that. I need to know what company they came from. Does that make some sense? Very inexpensive. I don't care who you use, but I care that you do. Set something up, okay? Google Analytics will tell you who's traveling and who's coming through there, but I want you to compare the analytics in terms of local search or national to the number of quotes that you're producing. I believe most of us don't compete enough. I believe most of us are too busy avoiding competition because we're busy serving, and I know you have to do that, but you can compete more often, and your phone won't ring. Take a look at your websites. I've seen a lot of MSP websites. Some of them I can't understand. I'm relatively proficient in English. I went to college and everything. But the problem is there's too much tech talk on too many of our websites. So if a prospect was there, we prospects would say things like, so what? I don't want to know that you're the premier provider of managed service technology in such and such a state or a county. I want to know what you're going to do for me. So what results have you produced for your customers? How do your customers value those results? What would it cost them to not have a relationship with you? And here's a question to ask your teams when you get back. Please ask this question. What does it cost somebody to say no to the opportunity to do business with you? What does it cost them to say no, I'm not going to do business with you? Say what? Well, let me disagree with that. If it costs them nothing to say no, then the other side of the coin is they believe they get nothing when they say yes. You see what I'm saying? So let's focus on, boy, if you don't do this, here's what it's going to cost you. You'll lose overtime, you'll have productivity issues, you'll have data security issues. Let's focus on those results. And let's talk about FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Here's the cost, stress-wise, psychologically, of not changing. And let's present POM. POM is a human motivator. We humans are attracted to POM and repelled by FUD. And we have to have a sales program that articulates FUD and POM to get people to initiate the process of change and then to get involved with changing. I'd like you all Monday or tomorrow, actually, I forgot. Well, we have 2 more days. What day is this? Where am I? But I'd like tomorrow, okay? The next business day, you should do this. But call any list broker, I don't care who it is, and ask the man or woman at of that list broker to give you a count of the number of demographically identical companies that exist in the geography you serve to the services that you want to deliver. So if you have, let's say, 2,000 names in your database, and you call a list broker and you say, how many companies exist within 30 miles of where I'm sitting that are like this, and they say there are 50,000, you have 48,000 strangers you need to go meet. Does that make some sense to you guys? And this is a free, take you 5 minutes, market penetration exercise. Because while we're hammering on that one deal, they want to see another server. Any of you dealing with any Seymours? Seymours are the prospects that say, I need to see more. You know, could you bring another one out, or can I see more? Can I talk to this guy? Well, while you're wrestling with that guy, you're not talking to the 48,000 people who have cash. So that delta equals your opportunity. Quick exercise, but if you do that, then I want you to design a program to impact the 48,000 strangers in your geography that you're not talking to. Because without that, you'll be in trouble. You see, all of us operate in 2 universes, and I'm not talking about science fiction. There's the universe of known opportunities. They're in your marketing system and or in your accounting system. And then there's the universe of the unknown. Our wealth lies in the unknown universe, and we have to go attack that universe. It won't come to us. You know, no one's waking up tomorrow morning saying, I wish I could find an MSP that I could pay on a monthly basis to take care of my IT. That isn't going to happen. We may hope it'll happen. But you can certainly go out and convince people to make that happen. Take a hard look at your CRM system. Do you have any typographical errors in there? Are all of the fields populated? A CRM system that isn't accurately populated is a CRM system that you can't use for marketing. And frequently I inspect my client's CRM system and I see a phone number in the first name field. I see no appropriate citation. Dear Ms. George Snigglefritz. I see incomplete zip codes. You have to have an accurate and up-to-date CRM system. And that has to be a condition of employment if you employ salespeople. And some salespeople will say, no, I have my own system. Well, that doesn't fly with me. If you have your own system, you're well and goodly entitled to work for someone else. But you have to work in my system. I shared this with the Ascii group last year, but my father was one of the Tuskegee Airmen. He gave me my love for aviation. And those men flew 15,000 combat missions in World War II and were never defeated. Their box score was 15,333 to 0. Pretty good box score, wouldn't you say? They weren't allowed to do anything their own way. Part of the secret of their success is Colonel Davis, who was the leader of that entire group, was a very strict disciplinarian. Some of the stories I heard is that he may have shot at his own guys just to get them back in line. So there was no, yeah, do what you like, it's cloudy today, stay in bed, what the heck. So we have to have structure, we have to have process, we have to have discipline, we have to have a program. Without a program, you're going to work too hard and achieve too little. Benchmark. I like to see sales funnels that have 3 times the annual revenue goal in them. So if your goal is to grow by $1 million this year, you need to have $3 million worth of IT opportunities targeted and identified. Not that they'll all close, but if you don't know of $3 million, the odds of getting $1 million is somewhere between slim and none. So your real job is to broaden your reach and frequency. Okay? Make sure you are measuring yourself. If you're a seller-doer, there are some critical activities that have to be done. Now, many of my seller-doer clients say, Gil, I get so busy I don't have time to do the selling. Does that sound familiar? Or I get so busy I can't prospect. Yes, sir. Question? If this were an auction, I sold to the young man in the front. $5,000. Quick tip. Put yourself into your contact management system as if you were a prospect. And then set appointments with yourself. I can get very, very crazy busy taking phone calls from clients and doing work in the office and whatever. But I set sacred time, it's sacred, for prospecting. And the easiest way for me to do that is I entered myself into my CRM system and I schedule appointments with myself. That keeps me from double booking. Does that make sense? And every time I look at putting an appointment into that time, I go, no, that's sacred. I've got to spend time developing my business. If you are an MSP seller-doer and you don't block time and spend time working on your own to build your business, 10 years from now, you're going to be spinning the same wheel. And I want to help you build businesses. And remember, a business is an entity that produces wealth for you without you working 24/7, 365. I met an MSP at the Ascii session last year. Great guy. He was engaged to be married, and I said, congratulations. And he says, yeah, I don't think I can take the honeymoon. And I said, well, you know, having been married almost 30 years, I think you ought to take the honeymoon. I don't do much marriage counseling, but you know, that's blocking and tackling. He says, well, we want to go to Hawaii, but all my clients are on the East Coast in the time zone, and if something happens, they won't be able to reach me. And I said, you don't have a business, you have a job. Doesn't he? And he works for the worst boss in the world, himself. And you know, if you're that kind of person, let's change that. But build metrics. Your program must have benchmarks. The one I've been hammering is first meetings. It's pretty easy for us to track that. But be specific, make sure they're measurable, achievable, results-oriented, and time-gated. If you fail to do that, you're going to have some issues. Now, if you're setting these up for an employee, make sure everyone understands what you're talking about. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So if you don't have a sales plan, and most of us don't, if you don't have a strategic plan, and most of us don't, then you've got to get one. Because if you don't plan, you're actually de facto planning to fail. The only question is, what excuse will we have? So what do you want to do in the next 12 months, the next 3 years? What's in it for you to achieve these goals? Do you want more freedom? Do you want to do more flying? Do you want to do fishing or golfing? Whatever it may be. Build the metrics so that you can control activities today to get you to where you want to go. Is this making some sense to you guys? Okay, I'm seeing some eyes that, I don't know if it's the hour of the day or whatever, but I really want you to make a commitment to yourself, not to me, but to yourself that you're going to do this. And you're going to start tomorrow morning. And you know, what are you going to do tomorrow, and how will you measure it by tomorrow night? And if it's waiting for the phone to ring, that's the wrong strategy. By the way, that's a picture of the first telephone sales force in Los Angeles back in the 1919, 1920 time frame. You can't see their sign, but their value proposition was, have you a telephone in your home? Okay, and they didn't need to be very sophisticated because they were selling against a technology that sounded like this. Run down the block and tell your sister it's dinner time. Today you just dial the little girl's cell phone. Different world. So we've changed significantly. Now, perfect practice builds perfection. One of the ways the Tuskegee Airmen were able to achieve what they achieved is they practiced air-to-air combat 100 hours for every hour of actual air-to-air combat. When you're flying at 400 miles an hour and your enemy's flying at 400 miles an hour and he gets paid a bounty for killing you, you don't have time to say, where's that switch? I thought it was over here. So how much sales practice do we do in our lives? And no one's shooting at us. And if you don't have a partner, if you don't have a salesperson, you have a smartphone with a recorder, show of hands. Okay, turn on your recorder and record your best presentation. Record it as if you were trying to sell me your services. Does that make some sense? And what's your name, ma'am? Susan, what company are you with? TS Computers in Lavidia? And video. Where are you located? How old are you? No, company. Company! She's getting ready to throw that glass at me. 37 years? Okay. So if I were one of your salespeople, my presentation would sound like this. Hi, my name is GIl Cargill. I represent TS Computers and Video, headquartered in North Hollywood. And for the past 37 years, we've specialized in helping companies like yours optimize the impact of technology on their P&L. Most of our current clients view us as their partner in profit. and we look to add you to that list. I don't know whether or not you qualify for our services, but a brief technology impact assessment will let both of us know whether or not it may make sense for us to pursue a mutually beneficial relationship. What day next week doesn't work for us to get together? Sound good?
Yeah, I'm going to break my recorder out again. Can you say that again?
I'm getting the high side. But that's, you know, and I've just done that for hundreds of years, it seems. But I want each of us to have our own presentation for your company. Every company in here has a way of doing business. Every company in here has a set of results that are beneficial to your customers, or you wouldn't be here. And your smartphone with the recorder is the best sales coach you can get. It's already paid for. So just record yourself and listen to yourself. Are you speaking English or tech talk? Are you talking about results or technology? And do the results talk and resonate with a businessman or woman? Do they focus on profit, productivity, and cash flow? Or are you addressing technology? I don't care about megabits and megabytes and all that. I care about what's in it for me. What will it do for my company? Go through your market planning. Most of us have a pretty good definition of our markets. Who do we want to sell to? If you do that count, you'll get a good understanding of what your market looks like. I want you to have a game plan. Do you have a marketing calendar for every month of the year? What are you going to do marketing-wise in March? What are you going to do marketing-wise in April? And so on and so forth. Don't just plan to wake up and go to work. Don't just plan to wake up and go get your email. Make sure that you focus on that. I did that already. Okay, I'm sorry. Where will you be at the year end of this year if you change? Nothing. And is that satisfactory? What will one or two more accounts and the monthly recurring revenue that they could produce do for you by the end of the year? I think they'll agree. That could be pretty substantial. What do you need to change? How much and by when? Had to throw in a picture of a cockpit. We pilots worry about things in front of us. I never worry about mountains and back of me. But my wife and I fly a lot, and we fly at night, fly through the clouds, and I have instruments to let me know where the mountains are. And if you are worried about things in back of you, then you're worrying about the wrong things. What's in front of you? How many calls do you need to make? How many quotes do you need to publish? What are the KPIs? You see, sales, and this is a sales criticism, sales as a profession has traditionally been managed with lagging indicators. And I want us to measure ourselves with leading indicators. If your sales meetings start with how many dollars did we bring in last week, month, or quarter, you're measuring yourself with lagging indicators. I can do nothing about things in back of me. I can only do something about things in front of me. Make sure that you exceed all KPIs, key performance indicators weekly. Measure the activity and correlate the activity to the results that you want at the end of the year. Now, I didn't say this morning, but everyone that gave me a business card will not only get my sales training, but I'm going to send everyone my sales manager's toolkit. If you were in the Ascii meeting last year, you're going to wind up with 2 of them. But in the toolkit is a goal setting and review form, and I want you to use it as a self-check. It's an Excel spreadsheet. Just print one every week and fill it out and look at what you did. You can manage yourself much better than anybody else can. Make sure that you're measuring yourself on a scoreboard of KPIs for sales, for your website, how many people visited, what's the trend, who are those people, what information did they ask for, what are your conversions and your bounces. Make sure you have KPIs in place for marketing. Marketing's only responsibility, in my opinion, and I'm a little bit simplistic in this, is to produce sales-ready leads. If marketing isn't producing sales-ready leads, why have marketing? And I know there's some people that will argue, well, we want a brand, we want to look good and all that. And at the end of the day, looking good is nice, but it's much more important to have sales-ready leads. None of the guys that flew with my dad ever got upset if there was mud on the plane. They got upset when there were no bullets in the machine guns. Make some sense? Especially they want to see who was loading the machine guns, which is why they loaded them themselves in the middle of the night. So make sure you look at the number of appointments. Grow and fill your funnel. That's the thing to worry about. Your program has to focus on filling the funnel right now. Make sure the 3X factor is in place. This is, and in that toolkit that I'm going to send everybody is a sample closed loop marketing manual. All you have to do is copy, modify, and paste the documents that are in that manual into ConnectWise or AutoTask. Follow the flow charts and the sequences, and you'll have a closed-loop marketing system in a few days. Okay? The initial plan will guide you through avoiding selling to the dead. This is a phenomenon that I've observed where we invest our optimism in a dead opportunity. And we keep saying to ourselves, well, if I just write one more quote, if I just change this, it'll come back alive. And it's dead. Go to the next one. Okay? Have rules in place to qualify your prospects. And I don't care what your acronym is, but I always want to make sure I'm talking to the man or woman who controls the money, has the authority to spend the money, who can recognize the need to spend the money, and I know the timing. If I don't know the timing, I'm not going to pursue them. Make sure your marketing list is fresh. Rules are every list of accounts will go stagnant at the rate of about 25% per year. So if you had 1,000 names a year ago that were usable, odds are 750 are still accurate. And that's a function of the way people move and change and get promoted and what have you. If you have a PR firm in place, make sure you're reviewing the number of sales-ready leads. If they're not producing leads, then you're in trouble. Make sure you check yourself at the end of every month against your goals and your ambitions. Review your funnel monthly and manage all of your activities metrically. Once you're controlling your program with metrics, your life will get a lot simpler. Your plan should be written out, and I gave you the website that will help you through building your plan. Make sure you have thresholds in place for every step. Always look at year-end shortfall. What do you want to look like at the end of the year? Okay, make sure you don't paint yourself into the proverbial corner. Use closed-loop marketing to stay in touch with everybody and practice, practice, practice like your life depends on it. Your financial life depends on how good you are. 8 to 5 is selling time to the degree possible. I know with a seller-doer, that isn't necessarily true. Step 1, go back to all of your old accounts, find out what they did, the ones that said not necessarily now. I want to leave you all with one story about Dad. I didn't know this until he passed, but one of the guys came up to me at his funeral and said, "Did your father share very much with you about World War II?" And I said, "Not a whole lot. I knew he was there." And some of the other airmen came together once a month to play bridge that lived in Cleveland. And he said, "Well, let me tell you about something that happened to your dad in a mission over Italy. They were escorting B-24s. They were jumped by German fighters. A melee ensued, and my father was separated from the group. And when he realized it, he was flying by himself. Clouds blocked his view of the rest of the Americans and blocked their view of him. 8 Germans attacked him at once. Dad got on the radio and said, 'I have 8 of these SOBs cornered. If you want some, come over and get them.'" So, attitude drives your altitude, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a positive attitude. Get out there and sell somebody something. Thank you for your time and your attention.